everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm Adam Brown and welcome to Shell Point Today for Thursday, November 26th. On today's show, resident Joan Burroughs will talk about being a member of the Mayflower Society, and other residents will recall fond memories of Thanksgiving time growing up. Plus, we'll bring you highlights of last year's special Thanksgiving Eve service at the village church. But first, don't forget about the holiday gift extravaganza coming Tuesday, December 1st. Over at the Island Gift Shop and next door in the Social Center, there will be plenty of special holiday gifts and crafts made by Shell Point artisans that you can purchase. There will be free gift wrapping, raffle drawings, book authors, demonstrations, free refreshments, and all kinds of holiday fun that you won't want to miss. So be sure to make plans to take part in the extravaganza from 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. on December 1st. Joan Burroughs is a lifetime member of the Mayflower Society, as well as a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution. At this time of the year, we thought we'd learn more about Joan and her life growing up in the North before coming to Shell Point. So put down that turkey leg or pumpkin pie and watch this.
Well, I was born in northern Pennsylvania in a little town near, Towanda is the county seat of Bradford County, and Wysox is 3 miles away, and it's just a little village. That's the house where I was born. We lived on a farm, of course. We did drink non-pasteurized milk, but it was a dairy. It wasn't just one cow. It was because the dairy, it went to the creamery, and then we would get some of the milk. But we had a garden, which in those days they didn't call organic, but it was, because it didn't use any pesticides or any. My father was a civil engineer, and he did do some farming. He kind of ran the farm. I think when my father died, my mother was an RN, so she moved over. She got a job working for the Public Assistance Bureau, or whatever they called it then. And then she worked for the school as the school nurse. I just think Mother did a great job getting us raised. And I know when my grandfather was living with his daughter down at the Navy Yard or whatever in Washington, D.C., because he was a Rear Admiral, and he wanted Mother to go back to the house in Wysox so he could come for the summer. And she just couldn't do it unless they had sent money or something to pay the continued rent on the little apartment that she had rented for us. And nobody offered that. She just said she couldn't do it. So we lived over in town. She worked there. I went to high school in Towanda High School, went to college at Penn State, got my master's administration with area of concentration business. They did not give MBAs, but it's an MA. I taught school for 3 years in Canton, Pennsylvania, which is a small dairying community in Bradford County. And then I went to Catherine Gibbs Secretarial School in New York City, and then started working for the government. Worked in the Pentagon for almost 30 years for the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Financial Management. Well, in the beginning, they had a place where buses drove underneath. After the attacks, the buses had to park outside. But it was still, it didn't rain that hard. You could still get inside all right. And after a while, when I started driving to work, I had to park way out in North Parking, and that was a struggle if it was raining, if it was cold. My grandmother's membership thing in the Society of Mayflower Descendants, and I am a life member because I just joined the Massachusetts Society because I was up north anyway. And the DAR, as I said, both my grandmothers were DARs, and I still am a member of the Florida Keys DAR down there, and I go to it. They only meet during like November to May, so I don't get to go to meetings much. I did go to a DAR, I think that in Key Largo they had a meeting, and while I was there this summer, a friend of mine, we both went to that, and that was kind of a bunch of chapters from Florida. They try to promote this country, and they give scholarships to high school graduates in the Keys. The Mayflower came from England. A lot of people had gone to Holland from England because of persecution, but I think John Alden was a cooper. He was the woodworker on the ship. And I think they had like 5 children, and I'm not sure. Jonathan Alden might have been their great-grandson. That was my grandmother's great-grandfather or something like that. My grandmother's, yes. Her maiden name was Mowry, and her great-grandfather was a Mowry who was a descendant of John Alden and Priscilla Mullins. So I knew from all of that. Reggie worked in the IRS, I worked in the Pentagon, and we had a farm in Rappahannock County, and there were 3 other couples that had found a place down in Keys that lived in this same complex. We decided we would go down and look at it, and we liked it, so we bought. But we only went down on vacations. And I can sit on the beach, and I would burn and freckle, so I stay out of the sun if I can. And I just sit in the shade on the beach and count the iguanas. There are like 3 or 4 or 5 iguanas that come out to sun or walk around or whatever, or scurry away. Well, when I was down in the Keys and belonged to the country club, I had seen ads for Shell Point. There were a couple of members of the country club that I knew down there that had come up here, but they were both in the high-rises. But I did think, well, I better look into Shell Point, because I was, there's nothing like this down in the Keys. Then when I did buy this, I still kept my homesteading down in the Keys, and I'm still homesteaded down there. Well, I signed up for here in 2002, but I didn't get things sold and get here till 2003. So I've been here 12 years, I guess. I volunteer here Wednesday mornings at the resident activities greeters desk, which is good because it makes me smile at people and greet people. And then Thursday afternoons, I volunteer at the pavilion reception desk. And I said, well, I only have 2 prayers, and one is thank you, God, and the other is help me, God. So thank you, God, I'd say lots of times, because Thanksgiving isn't the only time that you'd want to say thank you.
We went out recently to find out how you, the residents, celebrated Thanksgiving growing up. One thing that was in common for sure was lots of food.
Alice is here with us. We called her out at the kayaks, getting ready to launch her brand new kayak here. And you know, Alice, it's Thanksgiving Day, and so we wanted to ask you about that. Do you like to eat turkey?
Of course. Thanksgiving wouldn't be Thanksgiving without turkey.
What's your favorite meal at Thanksgiving time?
Turkey and turnips and mashed potatoes. Usually some green beans or something to keep us healthy, and of course some boiled onions with a little bit of sauce on them.
Boiled onions?
Yes, baby onions, little baby onions.
You're making me very hungry.
I'm looking forward to it.
Mincemeat pie. I haven't had a real good mincemeat pie since I was a kid.
Wow. Does that bring back a lot of memories as a kid?
It does. It was my aunt. She made this incredible stuff.
I like the traditional turkey and cranberry and the different pies, and yeah, everybody brought something, and yes, it was really it's my favorite holiday.
The leg, yeah.
Turkey
Duck
leg?
meat, yeah, duck meat, yeah.
The key was turkey, dressing, gravy, more dressing, a little bit of turkey.
Dressing, and I'm not quite sure for vegetable yet. Sweet potatoes.
When you celebrate Thanksgiving, do they get to partake of the scraps?
Yes, they do. We have a special little dish for them, and they're right there.
and they're happy as long as they're with us. So.
Well, I'm here with Betty and Irene. They're enjoying some card games today, and I wanted to ask you guys about Thanksgiving. Did you spend Thanksgiving eating turkey growing up, or is this
No,
like
in my
something
country
in
you
your
don't-
country you don't do that?
We don't do that in my country, but we're starting to do it there also.
And what country is that?
Venezuela.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I came from a very large family, and when we got together, there would have been about 25 of us for Thanksgiving, and we went to my parents' home. My mother always made a Thanksgiving dinner for all 25 people.
Wow, that's a lot of work,
Well,
isn't it?
she did have a little help from my older sisters, and they would take pies or cakes, but my mother did the rest.
Gene, I understand that you guys are so committed to this game that you cannot even
Can't have a turkey.
you can't even spend Thanksgiving away from this game.
True, that is true. So we decided, okay, at 6 o'clock we'll play.
By then you'll be so full of turkey and
We're
dressing.
going to be thinking properly.
Are you guys going to join in on the card game fun on Thanksgiving Day as well?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm going to be in it. But I'm going to start off with seeing the parade first and then watch the little football.
Oh, so you get into the football too.
Yes. And then we'll get into the cards.
All right.
And when's the turkey coming? Whenever I have time to eat in between.
Well, I'm all there with you for the turkey and the football, but I'll probably skip the parade.
Well, I have to see a little of that first thing in the morning, but after that, then I'm through with that too.
So now, are you going to watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade?
Absolutely not.
I don't know any guy that watches that, really. Growing up, what was one of your fondest memories of Thanksgiving? What did you like to do?
Oh, I used to go deer hunting. I lived in Vermont. That was the season. I didn't get one.
That's what my family did too, actually.
Is it? Never got a deer till later.
I grew up in New Orleans, and I liked spending Thanksgiving with my great-grandmother. She was my godmother, and she always made special things.
Do you have any fond memories growing up of Thanksgiving celebrations?
Oh, lots. Family and all the relatives together, and yes, many.
Well, I grew up in Hawaii. The Thanksgiving, and about 4 or 5 of us would go to the bathroom over the bathtub and clean the turkey.
Clean the turkey in the bathtub.
Right. My mother wanted every pin feather taken off.
She wanted to make sure that thing was squeaky clean before she got a hold of it, right?
And the school officials didn't approve of that. They expected us to be in school.
So still, instead of being in class, you were out cleaning a turkey.
Yeah.
Tell me, what are you thankful for as you look back through many Thanksgivings I'm sure you've enjoyed?
Well, I think the first one I remember was at my grandmother's, and in those days the dining room chairs were kind of humped up on top with leather on them, and I couldn't stay on top. I kept sliding off, much to the chagrin of my parents, but I do remember that as one of the first Thanksgivings.
Joan, tell us, what are you thankful for?
Well, one of the things I'm thankful for is Shell Point's location, because it's on this beautiful river, and our sheltered water here makes it possible for us to see the mangroves and to see all the life in the mangroves. And it's really can be heavenly in the water. It's absolutely beautiful.
Tell me, what are you most thankful for as you look back through the years?
Oh, to be living here.
It's a great place to live.
Right. It's next to the Garden of Eden.
Wow, that's quite a comparison.
Yes, it is.
I'm thankful for, that was my great-grandmother, for all my family and friends, and just all the blessings that we have.
Well, I just want to thank you because you have such a nice program. Turn it on certain time, and I know I can get information, and that's what I want.
So you're telling me you're thankful for SPTV. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I certainly am, because it's a Christian station, and I just thank the Lord for everything else that He's provided for me this year and many, many years before me.
And now it's time to take a look at today's happenings, Academy news, menus, and Village Church connections.
Hello and welcome to the Happening segment of Shell Point TV. I'm Caitlin Vanskoy, and I want to say a happy Thanksgiving to you today. Our activities start at 7:30 with round-robin doubles tennis at the Woodlands Tennis Courts. And at 8 o'clock, we have Men's Golf Association. They'll be meeting at the Shell Point Golf Club. Also at 8 o'clock, the round-robin doubles tennis will be at the tennis courts. And we move to 9:30 for ladies match play tennis at the tennis courts. At 2 o'clock, the Stamp Ministry will be gathering in the Stamp Room on the island. And our last activity is at 4:30. We have an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting in the Sable Room at the Woodlands. Well, thanks so much for joining me. Have a happy and healthy Thanksgiving.
Menus for your Thanksgiving Day. The Crystal Room is featuring a Thanksgiving buffet for $27.95. They will be closed for dinner, and the soup of the day is potato leek. In the Island Cafe for lunch, you can have roast pork with mashed potatoes, green beans, and a tossed salad for $7.75, and they will be closed for dinner. In the Palm Grill, they are featuring a Thanksgiving special menu from 11 o'clock until 4 o'clock. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Hi, welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm Andy Hawkins, the senior pastor of the Village Church, and happy Thanksgiving. Now, you know, as I think about the events that led to the first Thanksgiving, one of the things that occurs to me was what a lousy travel agent the Pilgrims had. Yeah, the Pilgrims were a bunch of Protestant Calvinist Christians who had separated themselves from the Church of England. Their religious freedom was restricted in England, so in 1608 they left England and settled in the Netherlands. And while they were able to worship according to their consciences in Holland, they found the culture there objectionable both morally and economically. And so after 11 years of struggle, they sought yet another alternative. And that's where their lousy travel agent got involved. He put 102 of them on a cruise across the Atlantic Ocean starting in September of 1620. That meant that the 3-month voyage had them landing in Massachusetts in November, a terrible time of the year to establish a colony. This was not the growing season for anything, except perhaps for disease. And so once they landed in late November, the first thing they did was have a prayer meeting. These people were serious about their faith and knew that their welfare depended on God. But once their prayer service was over, they got to work, building shelters, doing the best they could to prepare for the winter, which would come quickly. And the winter did come quickly and wreaked havoc among the Pilgrim settlers. Nearly half of their population died in the first year. But once spring arrived, a new optimism spread. Crops were planted, many of the sick recovered, and with the help of new Native American friends, they produced a rich harvest in the summer of 1621. William Bradford, the governor of the colony, would write, "They began now to gather in the small harvest they had and to fit up their houses and dwellings against winter, being well recovered in health and strength, and had all things in good plenty. For some were thus employed in affairs abroad, others were exercised in fishing, about cod and bass and other fish, of which they took good store, of which every family had their portion. All summer there was no want, and besides waterfowl there was a great store of wild turkeys, of which they took many, besides venison, etc." Well, Edward Winslow, also among the Pilgrims, wrote to a friend and recounted the first feast as it unfolded. He said, "Many of the Indians coming amongst us, and among the rest of their greatest, King Massasoit, with some 90 men, whom for 3 days we entertained and feasted. And they went out and killed 5 deer, which they brought to the plantation, and bestowed upon our governor and upon the captain and others. And although it be not always so plentiful as it was at this time with us, yet by the goodness of God we are so far from want that we often wish you partakers of our plenty." Now, this story, of course, is the stuff on which legends are built, but this was a legend rooted in reality. A harsh reality, to be sure, but a reality experienced by a people of implicit faith in a sovereign and loving God, in fact, the God of the Bible. It was no surprise then that regular Thanksgiving feasts began to be celebrated, beginning in New England, spreading south, and later becoming institutionalized by the Continental Congress of the fledgling nation which would become the United States. Samuel Adams inaugurated the first Thanksgiving proclamation with these words, "For as much as it is the indispensable duty of all men to adore the superintending providence of Almighty God, to acknowledge with gratitude their obligation to Him for benefits received, together with penitent confession of their sins, whereby they had forfeited every favor, and their humble and earnest supplications that it may please God through the merits of Jesus Christ, mercifully to forgive and blot them out of remembrance. It is therefore recommended to set apart Thursday, the 18th day of December next, for solemn thanksgiving and praise, that with one heart and one voice the good people may express the grateful feeling of their hearts and consecrate themselves to the service of their divine benefactor." You know, we are far removed from those historical events, but I hope not too far removed from them in our attitudes and dispositions. And as we eat turkey and watch football, I trust that you will take time to express genuine thanksgiving to the God of all creation for the extraordinary blessings that we enjoy. And so may God richly bless you this very special holiday. Happy Thanksgiving to you, and thank you for joining us on Village Church Connections.
Last year at the Village Church, a special Thanksgiving Eve celebration service was held. What could be more festive than to show you some of the music and other highlights from that service?
Creation, thanks be Thanksgiving to the Lord belongs for all his love and care. With grateful hearts and thankful songs, thanksgiving all may share. Our Father from his bounteous hand lets many blessings fall. Our life, our friends, and freedom's land, we owe him our all. We praise you, Lord, whose works appear in heaven and earth and sea. Your mighty name let all revere and ever thankful be. You are a refuge for the soul who trusts in you alone. And when our years shall cease to roll, we'll praise you round your throne.
I was thinking about the next song, and growing up in the hills of Pennsylvania as a toddler, we would often spend our time counting cows. On a good day, we could count horses, but only cows and horses in the hills of Pennsylvania where I grew up. I didn't even know that you counted sheep until I got to be a teenager, and that it was a necessary practice when having trouble falling asleep, counting sheep. And it's appropriate that as I've grown, there are other more important things to count. And this song says, when upon life's billows you're at tempest tossed, when you are discouraged, thinking all is lost, count your many blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord has done. Thanksgiving is a time for us to count our blessings, and others are going to continue to do that for us tonight. And I trust that through the days ahead, you'll continue, whether it's a difficulty of falling asleep one night or just a difficulty of hard, bad news. Count your blessings. It will surprise you what the Lord has done. And I guess it's appropriate, what made me think of all that is Pam Blau is going to play on the cowbells. Count your many blessings.
That's going to wrap things up for this Thanksgiving edition of Shell Point Today for Thursday, November 26th. This Thanksgiving, we are thankful for you, the residents of Shell Point. You help make Shell Point TV special and interesting. And thanks for watching. I'm Adam Brown. We'll see you again tomorrow.